What is up, guys? So I've got my Sky Striker deck profile for you here today. This deck is quite good for the current format, similar to Salamangre. It's just really good at having a small compact engine and stuffing it full of hand traps, ball breakers, utility, things like that, and that's what really allows it to compete effectively. Then of course it's going to have a little bit of spice, the spice that every deck is going to be playing this month, which is having the Dragoon of Red Eyes forced in. What's nice about Sky Striker is Rose makes it very easy to go into that card, but let me anyway do the deck profile for you really quickly so you know exactly how to do this deck. So for our two normal monsters, we've got one copy of Dark Magician, one copy of Red Eyes Black Dragon, and then these are your only breaks. There are different ways you can do this, for example. So you could, instead of playing Red Eyes Black Dragon, you could play like a Phantasme if you wanted to instead, and then play King of the Swamp. Or you could play just the Phantasme and the Dark Magician instead, because that will be able to be sent from the deck. That's not a bad alternative. It just so happens that I'm choosing these two. And then you can decide what you really want to do if you don't want to run the Red Eyes Black Dragon. But yeah, then moving on, we have the 3 Sky Striker Ace Ray, 3 Rose. At first I used to do 3 Ray, 2 Rose, but I really do think that it's just worth running 3 of both. You don't have an abundance of normal summons in this deck, you don't have an abundance of ways to get to it, and you do need to see one of these to start your combo. If you don't see them, then you're completely kind of locked out of your links without seeing this as well, without seeing Hornet Drones, which doesn't really count because it's so hard to get to. You only got 1 copy. So I do really think it's worth playing 3 of both, and there's no disadvantage. I mean, it's not a huge issue drawing a Ray and a Rose, because then you get to either link up into Dragoon, which is really cool, or you have another copy in case your link monster on field and your regular monster gets destroyed. So yeah, I do really like the 3-3 ratios. Then moving on from that, we're going to be playing 2 Veiler. Veiler is such a good card. Everything about it is amazing. I mean, once per turn negates a monster on field, can be used to link up into access code, which is absolutely busted in this deck. I mean, it's just a really good tech. Then we have the 1 Red Eyes Fusion, of course, for bringing out Dragoon. We've got 2 Jamming Waves. I really like this card. It does a lot. The only issue, obviously, is that it does put stuff in graveyard. So against decks like Eldritch, it does become a bit of an issue because they just recycle their resources. But it's still good to use. And if you get that secondary effect of non-target indestruction on a monster, it's amazing. Then we've got the 1 Rota, so that we can ensure we're getting our Ray or our Rose that we need. 3 Foolish Burial Goods. Very good spell. Really good spell for Sky Strikers. I mean, just the ability to dump that Melforce Fusion and then have that in the grave so that you have 2 spells, and then you're going to get a draw off it anyway. It's amazing. It's another upstart, obviously, so that's why we play it. Avarice, another really good card for Sky Strikers. There's a lot of draw power in this deck, which is great. Avarice is so good because with 1 Sky Striker monster, you have the potential to completely fill Avarice, because you do that Sky Striker monster, then you can link into everything and Zeke, and then that way it's like, wow, you've already put 5 monsters in grave. Now you can go straight into your Avarice and it's never a brick. So you're rarely going to have a situation where your pot of Avarice is a brick, which that's why I actually play 2. I do think it's really worth it. Then moving on, we have the 1 Upstart Goblin. Upstart Goblin, of course, just making our deck 39. Melforce Fusion, it's our target for Foolish Burial Goods. Then we've got Terraforming, of course, again, to search the plethora of field spells. We play it in 2 Afterburners. Again, I like Afterburners. Similar reason for Jamming Waves. Just nice to have an archetype destruction spell, and then also it can destroy a spell or trap if there's enough spells, which is really good. We've got the 1 Eagle Booster as well. I've started to play this more just because I think it's more important, especially with Dragoon format and stuff, and also decks like Numeron and stuff that can really just stun you or smash into your monsters a lot. It's nice to be able to kind of force a monster to be on field, and especially if you can bring out something like a Kaina, so they'll destroy your first monster, then they'll destroy your Ray, then it's like you put a Kaina on board and you stun a monster, or you can just activate this over Shizuku with a lot of spells, and it's a lot harder for you to get OTK. So I do really like Eagle Boost, and I think I'm going to be keeping it in my deck. I'm playing 3 Shark Cannon. It's such a good disruption. I didn't just realize, I mean, it should have been obvious, but yeah, I saw a lot of other people bumping this up to 3, and I've definitely followed suit. I mean, just the ability to DD crow something like a Block Dragon out of the grave, get rid of an Eldritch out of the grave. I mean, it's just so good. And then they're stunned because like, oh, they've lost one of their key combo pieces. Then we play the 1 Hornet Drones, great card. Another one that's really good for link climbing. If you don't link climb with this, the other thing you can do obviously is use it for kind of defensive purposes on your opponent's turn. This is probably the card that I would remove Having said that, out of all, if I had to remove one of them, I probably would get rid of Hornet Drones, just because without engage to get to it, it just becomes a bit frustrating. Like it becomes almost pointless to rely on sometimes, but it's still a really good spell. And then the 2 Widow Anchor. So Widow Anchor is actually, in my opinion, the weakest one again this format. A lot of monsters either can't be targeted, or the ones that can be targeted, like Eldritch, aren't affected by stuff. So it's a really awkward position. This is strictly talking about the meta. If you're against Rogue, you're not going to come up into this issue, but against the meta, this seems to happen to me a lot. So Widow Anchor a lot of the time does feel kind of useless, but the steal is useful when that does resolve for link climbing again, and it is still a good card. It just so happens that the meta is starting to go a bit against it. Then we've got the 1 multi-roll. Amazing. It's like a weaker spell of Judgment, but still a really good spell. And the 3 Area 0. I keep bouncing around on what exactly, how many Area Zeros I should play. Sometimes I feel like 3 is a really good number. Sometimes I feel like I should do 2 and 3 Mystic Mine instead. It's really hard to say. So yeah, I'll tell you, you should play around that. Play around that, see what feels best for you. At the moment, 3 Area 0 does feel good for me, but yeah, see what you like. The Mystic Mine, obviously, this deck is basic. This card is basically a Sky Striker card now, because it's just so good of Hayate. You pop them in the face of Hayate, clear your own Hayate off the board, and then you can just keep killing them, and they can't get out of the Mystic Mine look, which is insane. And 3 Infinite Impermanence, another really good card. Then moving on to Ice deck, so 3 Shizuku, 3 Kagari, 2 Kaina, 2 Hayate. So I had to remove 1 Hayate, obviously, for the Dragoon package, but it doesn't matter. The ratios of your Sky Striker ones, as long as you have 2 of pretty much all of them, is fine, especially because I'm playing 2 copies of Avarice. It's so easy to recycle all of your Sky Striker monsters that you really don't. The extra copy will rarely come up. I mean, it never comes up for me anyway. It's always a case of I've recycled them at least once with an Avarice, so it does not matter. Then we've got the Verte, of course, great cards again in Dragoon, and it's so easy to get into in this deck. You've got so many different ways. You can use the Hornet Drones to go into a link, then go into it. You can use your Sky Striker Ray into a Rose to go into it. You can use your Sky Striker and your Veilers to go into it. I mean, it's just so great. And then if you hard draw Red Eyes Fusion as well, it doesn't even matter. Hard draw Red Eyes Fusion, you just activate it instead. Hard draw Dark Magician or Red Eyes Black Dragon, doesn't matter, because it can still be used from there, which is great. And then we've got that Access Code Tool package. I really like it. It's good for ending games, and it's definitely really effective because you'll get minimum 3 pops in this deck. Sometimes you'll get even more. So it's really good because you've just got so many materials to use, and then you can just really clear your opponent's board and then hit them with a big ass Access Code Toolkit. Then moving on into the side deck, so Sky Strikers are quite flexible with the side deck as well. Again, the ability to kind of play under a lot of floodgates and hand traps, a lot of different floodgates is one of the other things that I think really makes Sky Strikers quite strong. So we have 3 there, can be only 1. Again, it would affect you a lot, but then obviously you can clear it off your own board with things like Area 0 if you need to, so a really good one. Summon Limit is another really good floodgate. I think it's great, this format. It stops a lot of decks, or really slows them down. Again, Dragoon, for example, they can't even go into it because they get stunned after 2 summons, so I really do like this, and it doesn't affect you that much. And then again, you can just clear it if it's a problem. We've got the 3 evening match for equalizing games. This is definitely a really good one. I do really favor this card, and this is another card I think this format I'm gonna keep in my extra deck a lot of the time, just because there's too many big boards. There's too many big boards to deal with. So it's nice just to have a card that kind of says no and just destroys everything on the board. Dark Ruin No More is a great card, but I don't really play it in Sky Strikers just because they're not amazing at clearing boards. They haven't got as many in-archetype tools doing it. So I'd rather, instead of having a card that enables me to clear a board, I'd rather have a card that actually clears the board. But in any case, yeah, moving on, we have 3 Tactical Talents. Read like this card as well, mainly because of the draw 2 cards effect. Some people will occasionally ash something, especially when you're going second and they have a couple of negates. This is a good one. Bait out a negate and then just steal their monster to use it against them, which is great. And then 3 Lightning Storm, amazing card, quite expensive. This can be replaced by other things. You can even play something like Dark Hole if you really wanted to as a budget version. Obviously it's not going to be as good as Lightning Storm, but it is good as a replacement if you haven't got the funds to spend like 200 quid on a copies of Lightning Storm. But guys, that is my Sky Striker deck profile. Really, really good deck. And if you're a new player as well, I actually would highly recommend this deck. It's got a low skill floor, it's very easy to get into, but it's got such a high skill ceiling. The people at the top levels of Sky Striker are so insane. They do the most. You see this deck top all the time, which is quite impressive considering how much it's been gutted and nerfed. But I really do think this is a great deck for trying out and learning the game and then getting actually good at the game. I mean, that's probably one of the reasons why I don't play this deck that much, because I do find it quite difficult. It's easy to just get into to start off with, but then some of the amazing things and matching up against good opponents is really wonderful to see, like a strong Sky Striker player pilot this deck. But anyway guys, if you've enjoyed that, make sure to leave me a like, comment and subscribe. I'll talk to you all soon. Peace.